Hello, everybody. So, welcome, Elmer, to
Aloha.
this channel here. Welcome from Hawaii.
It's early.
Thanks, Kay. Yeah, thanks, Kay, for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope
Hey,
you're doing fine today.
I'm doing great. Thanks. This is fun. For once you're interviewing me, so it's totally different. This
That's fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate your time. So, Elmer has a lot going on, a lot of work left and right, and all of that. So, I really appreciate it. And the thought was really, Elmer has done so much for the broader community and for a lot of people to shine light on amazing alternative ways to improve one's life, really, and to also spark curiosity and interest in really doing some things on our own and think. And yeah, he's become a hero in a way, and people love your videos, Kay, and how you describe things and the stuff that you're coming up. So I thought, hey, I've never seen a video where someone asks you, okay, how did that all come about? So that's why we're doing that today, and I'm
cool.
really curious myself also.
This is my first reverse interview. It's an interesting question. I knew you were going to ask that, and so I really had to sit and think about like how did this thing I just start. I guess it really comes down to is I've had an insatiable desire to learn, and I kind of picked up Tinker because I raised a daughter, and she's really into Tinkerbell, and so I was forced to watch all of the Tinkerbell movies, and that's what Tinkers do. They tinker, they build things. They're like the DIY community, so that's kind of why I ended up with Tinkers Academy. But the thing that really I guess defines who I am is that I just have a natural, insatiable curiosity to learn, and I have this desire to do it myself. I'm one of those people. I want to figure out how to do it myself, and not have people do it for me. I just want to be self-sufficient. And so, how the Tinker Academy started and how I started my YouTube channel was, I've been kind of like doing stuff for years. I'm very, very, very interested in bioelectrical magnetics for a couple of decades now, and I've been playing around with that whole world and how those modalities and devices work and how they treat and cure and help people. But I never really shared that with anybody. It was just something I was into, and it makes for very strange conversations when you meet somebody you don't know and they say, what's your hobby? Oh, I research and collect turn of the century bioelectrical magnetic medical devices. And they just stare at you. It's definitely not a chick magnet topic of conversation, I gotta admit. But yeah, so what happened was was that one Sarah Westall interview Cliff High, like back in whenever in 2017 or something. And it was just, and I've been a Cliff High follower, right? For like, by that, at that point, I'd been following him for over a decade. And so I was listening to that podcast, and he shared the story of the body rat study for C60. And I was instantly interested because the results of that study were fascinating. So I went and grabbed the study. I ordered some C60 that night. And then the whole Twitter community that follows Cliff was just chatting like crazy about it. C60 literally sold out in 2 days because it was such a tiny little market at the time that it only took 2 days to sell out. And that was where I was just reading the study and everybody was talking about it. And I thought, hey, why don't I do a video? Because one of the things about the passion for learning is the one thing I learned about learning my whole life is the best absolute way to learn is to teach. Would you agree? Right? If you want to learn
I think that,
something, go
yeah.
teach it. And so that's what I've been doing. I have that skill set as part of my day job, and so I'm like, yeah, why don't I just I'll do a presentation like I would do any other presentation. So I decided to do that, and then I don't know why, it just kind of led to like I decided, oh, I'll just do a 3-part series, because that led to one thing. And so my very first thing I ever did was a 3-part series on C60, which was explaining the rat study, talking about how to make your own, and what the dosages would be, right, or something like that. That was a long time ago. And I don't know, I never ever intended to do a YouTube channel or a blog or anything. I was just like sharing what I knew. And that's kind of how it all started. And that's kind of how it all is today. I mean, I pride myself on all my videos that I've never ever once said like and subscribe, because it's never been about that. I've never said that ever. I've never asked for money. I don't want any of that, because that's not what it was about. It was about, hey, I do all this weird stuff, and I have this crazy thing. My brain just goes in every direction. And I thought, why don't I just share? And yeah, it turned out that there were people that were interested in hearing what I had to say. So it just kind of led to one thing to another, and here we are. After a couple of years of doing, it was really weird too, because if you would have told me that I would be able to make over 30 videos about a molecule, I would and not run out of things to talk about, I would have just like said that was impossible, but I was able to. And now that, C60, the interest is winding down. I've made a lot of videos about it. I don't know, there's a lot more to go on talking about that, until more research comes out. So I started branching off and started sharing my bioelectrical magnetic stuff that I was interested in. And of course, I got into Brown's gas as well. And this is my blog up here. And then you came along, right? Because you're one of my C60 pals from the beginning. I mean, I remember back in the very first, when it first started, right? I remember like you and there was a couple of other folks, and we were all trying to figure out how to source C60 because the market dried up, right? Remember SES did their
Yeah.
thing. And then you were out there trying to source because you wanted to start a company at the time. And we were all like, I remember you like donating to you for you to be our research, scout ant to go figure out funded you and and all this. Then we just started figuring it all out, how we're going to do this and how we're going to source our C60. And yeah, just one thing led to another. And next thing I know, I had a Tinkers Academy blog and my YouTube channel, and I just keep putting out more stuff. And now that I'm kind of like tied down, I mean, I'm like, I don't do as much about C60. I want to do more about on the aspect of healing. I mean, because I'm really into this. At the same time of all this is going on, I really believe in being your own healer. So I really want to emphasize all the aspects of that, and really start focusing on that and anti-aging and so forth. So that's kind of where I'm going at this point. But yeah, that's where it started. It just started with reading a research paper and kind of I thought I would just do a video about it, and here we are.
I think it's fantastic. So first of all, really congrats that you've followed that first impulse to put up that one video and then really share what you had in you. And from my perspective, that's actually how, how it's supposed to be in the new world, how people live their lives and how work really comes about work, right? Because work in the past and still in today's world, obviously, to the vast majority, it's something that you need to do in order to survive and pay your bills and stuff like that. And there are tons of compromises attached to that, where we may work in a company that we don't like. We may work for people that we don't like. But we still work there because we sort of have to, so that we can stay in the home where we're at and keep the phone we have and all of that. But the actual vision for humanity in that regard is actually that everybody is so unique, right? And it's also in contrary to what we're being told from the official narrative, that everybody's the same. It's total BS. We're not all the same, not at all. Actually, we're all totally unique. There's not one fingerprint that is the same. And yes, we all come from the same source, but that's not the same as we're all the same. So we all have our gifts, our qualities, our interests, our specialties within us. And if we start to express those, and it comes from within, and then it becomes work, it becomes something we do and something we share, then the resonance will automatically be positive, and something like what you've just shared comes out of it, where you didn't even have the goal that, okay, now I want to have over 5,000 people that follow me on YouTube or something, that it just came about, and people, they feel the authenticity. So I think that's great that you've done that, at least, in this part of your life, where you just do what's within, and you follow your passion there. I think that's amazing. And yeah, I think it'll keep going. I'm
Yeah.
already interested in your next videos about
It's
anti-aging
passion.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about finding your passion. It's kind of like I have a daughter who's 21, and she just finished her second degree, pursuing grad school, and kind of iffy on what she wants to do. Of course, she knows I quoted her so many times, Confucius, find a job you love, you never work a day in your life. And then we've had all these long conversations about, fulfillment versus career versus get the bills paid. And it's true. I mean, most of us, I'd say, and I try to tell her, 99.9, that's my guess, 0.999 probably, of us, we work to pay the bills, and it's not our passion. But if you stop there and you just work to pay bills and raise a family, and you don't pursue some kind of passion, then you're just going to die inside. And I think that's kind of why I do what I do on the side, because it's what I love. My job is just how I pay my bills. I mean, I've worked there so long that it's kind of like I'm on autopilot in terms of like effort, mental effort. I mean, it's laborious, but it's not like challenging, like, and passionate challenging. You know how that is, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and this is my hobby. And so yeah, I think I really believe people need to find their passion. And for those 0.001% who never work a day in their life, I mean, kudos to you. I mean, I think, Philip, that's kind of like you and I had chatted in one of our interviews, right? About you left the corporate world and then you went to your passion, and then you found a way to make a living with your passion. You're that 0.001 that I envy that. I think that's marvelous. But yeah. So that's kind of, yeah, it really is. And then, this whole healing thing, and it's kind of like, I was just thinking the other day. I mean, I actually ran across this interest. You might find this interesting. You're kind of in my age group, but there's this new movement called FIRE, like financial independence, retire early, right? And it's just kind of this new movement. And so there's this. I was watching the videos, and this one lady was talking about, okay, well, once you become financially independent and you retire early, then what? And what's really interesting is that almost 100% of the people start teaching, because they're all at that age where they've accumulated all this knowledge and skill set. And now once you become financially independent, what are you going to do? Sit around, and watch TV and die? And so these people who have enough energy to become financially independent, retire early, they turn right around and they start teaching. And that, what that tells me, it's a natural human trait, right? To pass
Yeah.
on to the next generation. and
Yeah.
and so then when I watched that video, it resonated with me, and I realized, wow, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just like, whatever I know, whatever I figure out, I figure someone else could use that information, and I just pass it on to the next generation. And so there's nothing, like, for me, it made me realize that what I'm doing is nothing, quote, special, right? I'm doing what I'm literally programmed to do as as a human, part of the species. But it's kind of like, it was cool to realize, wow, I'm resonating with humanity now. It's kind of, it was really an interesting video to watch, these older folks going, yeah, it's just, they all start teaching one way or another. So yeah, it's I think it's part of who we are.
I think that's a great observation. I've never really thought about it that way, and yeah, I can totally see that. That's great that you bring that up. Kay, I wanted to ask something, because you're, on one hand, you're very scientific. You got a lot of scientific knowledge and interest also, and you knew about the Decavol method, and lots of things. I've been impressed really by your knowledge and, yeah, sort of expertise uh, in the scientific area. At the same time, you have a very holistic view and perspective, so you're not like on the side of where some of those in the box scientists are, that just do their little signs in this box and they never really get to see the whole picture. You're actually always having the bigger picture in mind, but you're also applying science. So how do these two worlds come together for you? And yeah, how does that how can you tell us just more about it, about these two sides, and which I find like amazing in today's world to bring those two worlds together.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I got to tell you, it was a pretty huge leap to go from doing C60 videos to doing quantum energy videos, and I did lose subscribers because there were hardcore academics out there that were just criticizing the hell out of me, for entertaining all this quote woo woo stuff, and I tried to respond to them because this was before you did studies and before we had any evidence, right? And I just, and my whole thing was keeping an open mind, and that's what I was trying to convey to those subscribers and those folks. And hey, and kudos to them all, and I have aloha for all of them, and about but the thing about, I think, academics is that it's like they kind of train you to think in a certain way, and they set up all these rules and principles, like here's a like you always hear the statement, oh, it defies modern physics and this and that. But the thing about that I try to remind academics and everybody is that, hey, if you actually just Google the phrase "scientists have discovered," just those three words, and you Google it, you will come up with lists and lists every single day of stuff scientists discover that day, that week, that month. And so, how in the world could anyone ever even say, if you're an actual real scientist, how could you literally say out loud and say that we know everything there is to know? If we discover something new every single day, right? Then that what that tells me is we don't know anything. Right? We don't know. We don't know what we know. And there's that old, again, I think it's an Asian saying, right? A wise man knows what he does not know. And it's true, and then again, and then I go back to the idea of what is science, and science, or how does science work? And it all starts with observation, right? And then from observation, you come up with a hypothesis, and then a theory, and then you experiment. You have to be able to duplicate it and so forth. And so that's, I mean, I am a staunch scientist mental person. It's kind of where I kind of like was majoring in that in college. And then I had to take a different route. So my background is science. And so I'm just like an armchair scientist, and I really think that way. And and I'm hugely skeptical of all of well, just I don't want to label it woo woo because that's a cop out word, but this kind of like alternative and or vaguely has yet to be figured out level of activity that's going on, well, like whether it's scalar, quantum energy, frequency medicine, all of those things, they still have not been clinically studied. They haven't been defined because why? Because scientists cannot measure them. That's why scientists are like saying it doesn't exist. It's the same thing, but then you go to the same scientist and you go, well, you can't measure string theory either, but I'm sorry, I digress. But the whole idea though is that it begins with observation. So like I think our chat with Ian last time was where Ian was also saying the same thing, where it's like sometimes you can't see like what is happening, but you can see the results of what's happening. And so you lean on those. What are the results of what's happening? Like with plants, especially plants, animals, things like I was like Brown's gas. I don't know, for people that don't know about Brown's gas, but there's this really cool video where somebody did a video where they treated goldfish, two tanks of the same goldfish that they bought on the same day. They put them in two different tanks. They treated one tank with Brown's gas. The other one just had regular, the air pump thing, right? And the ones with the Brown's gas, they grew to full maturity twice as fast as the other group. They didn't grow bigger than normal. They just grew twice as fast. And it's just kind of like, and you don't know, like, oh, so how is that happening? How is Brown's gas doing that? How in the world, right, could this gas cause the growth to double in speed? It's to be determined, right? But you can see the actual goldfish. It's right in front of your face, so something's happening. So it's just that whole thing there. So that's how I bridge the two. And the thing about it too is, like, again, a wise man knows what he does not know. So I never want to be that person that goes, that can't happen, that's not possible. Because to me, that is the most arrogant, stupid thing you could say, right? Because somebody tomorrow could come along and discover something and make you look like a complete idiot. So you don't want. I think that it's embarrassing to say that something's not possible. Instead, it's like, okay, I try to figure out what is possible. So I have spent just as much time uh, reading, studying, learning everything that I would say is what I would call etheric. All the philosophies, all the like, I have I think one of the coolest things about you that people may not know, and I'll tell you guys right now, Philip is an actual shaman. He's a shaman. He's a real shaman. And I think that's so cool. But I've studied shamanism. I've studied all of those things, and all of the, I mean, everything, that I could even get my hands on. I just have, like I said, insatiable curiosity. So when you start talking about things in the chat, like you and I think we just recently had a chat with somebody, and you were explaining all of the things that we don't, like what you're trying to say, like humans are much more than what we are, and that causality and why things happen are not just, for not any particular reason, and blah blah blah. And it was like, I was like, I was completely on the same page because I understood that. Whereas some people don't understand that sometimes, people here are on the planet to experience a certain experience, and that is their experience, and there's nothing's going to change it. So but yeah, but I just because I find that stuff just as fascinating. And as much as I've tinkered around with things like multi-wave oscillators and Rife technology and CNRs, I've tinkered around with everything from crystals to to orgonite to orgone accumulators. I've built my own. I've done Sperling tensor coils. I've built all this stuff. I've completely been playing around with all of the what I call the subtle energy devices as much as I've played around with electrical biomagnetic devices as well. So I don't really put boundaries, or I don't want to have how do you have a boundary in learning, right? So that's kind of just how I work. That's how my brain works. So yeah, I just, to me, it's just one big thing. It's not any particular side. I don't really I don't think that way. Did
I
that
think
kind of
that's
explain it?
absolutely. Thank you so much. And I know that all the listeners are going to love this because yeah, I mean, what you're sharing is so true, and it's so close to the heart, and it's so passionate also. And I know this, that this is where humanity is headed anyway, not just the scientists that are in this box that I described, but also really humanity as a whole, to a large extent, has been in this box, and it's unboxing right now, right? It's really getting out of this box, and then a world opens up that is so way bigger than we can imagine. And yeah, it's and there are different ways to describe it, right? So Cliff High, who I also have listened to quite a lot, he brought up this one picture a couple of months ago, so where that I thought explains exactly so well what's currently happening, that there's this woo-woo world, and woo-woo is the unseen, if you will, right? The truth that's not known by the ones that just see with their physical eyes. And then there's the so-called normie world, and then in this whole process there are these parachutes, and from the normie world the people fly with their parachute naturally into the woo-woo world.
Yeah.
And it's more and more people, and that's exactly, this is such a great picture because it's so easy to understand, but that's exactly what's happening, that more and
Yeah.
more people open up to what's there, and that you're able to share what you have learned and experienced in your life and all of that, and offer that to the people. I think that's fantastic, and that's amazing. Okay, I'm looking at the watch right now, because these videos, the intro videos, and I'm hoping we can have a follow-up at some point where we go into more details. But so I would like to start to wrap it up, and I
Sure.
always wrap it up with asking one or two questions that maybe help the audience with something. And so my impulse is to, because you've shared, your passion and how you got into that and what came out of this. So probably a lot of people are, from my perspective, wondering, okay, what is even their passion? So maybe okay, what from your perspective could people do that are not really there, that they don't really know what should I do? What am I really most passionate about? And the second thing, okay, the people that are passionate about something, but they have all these obligations and they just can't find the time or the energy to also follow through. What would be your advice for them to maybe start at least a little bit? No one has to
Yeah.
start with a YouTube channel or something, but how can they maybe follow that more so it expands more within themselves from your perspective?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts come to mind. In short, uh, you know, I think the first thing to realize is that you have an inner voice, and that your intuition, and it's been defined in multiple different ways, but your intuition is spot on. It's always spot on. And there's actual science behind that. But and so your passion, and I just want to explain something that um I was, or I still am, I guess, a single parent. I raised a daughter by myself since she was 2 years old. So we for whatever reasons left, and so I was left with this daughter, and I raised her myself alone because I don't have any family in Hawaii, so it was just me and her. And so I know, if anybody wants to, I wonder if Elmer understands how he, yes, I do, for 20 years. So and family. So I know that life can be extremely challenging. And so how do you find your passion? And so I think, honestly, it's just listen to your intuition, and the main thing is don't think this is all there is. That's a huge part of it, right? And to know, you have to know in your heart that what you're experiencing right now is not all that there is. You're going to live quite longer. You're going to live longer, yeah, if you let yourself live. So and you will experience, and life will change. And like now, like my daughter's grown up, went off to college. She's in grad school now, and now it's like I've got all the time in the world. So that's how this all kind of came about. I didn't start the YouTube channel until she was literally in college, just 3 years ago. She started college 5 years ago, right? So you'll have your time, but it doesn't. Don't stop um, listening to yourself, and don't stop playing. Play. This is all about playing. Find some toys, play. Just what makes you happy, right? Obviously, our jobs don't necessarily make us happy, but I would say, definitely listen to yourself, allow yourself to play, allow yourself to rest, and know that there will be a time if you don't have time now. Because when when my daughter was a toddler and there was no time. I didn't do anything back then. I just did my job, and both jobs, right? So that's what I would say. In terms of just that's how I found where I'm at. That's how I found my contentment and my happiness. And just don't give up. It's there will be a time, and just remember to play. Just play every day if you can, and listen to your heart. I really think so. And the last thing I really want to emphasize is that everything about our world, I mean, there's been a lot of different theories about our existence and our reality, and I really want to emphasize and to let people know, or just challenge you to think that everything you understand that is a construct in your reality. And what I mean by that is, the institution of marriage, the institution of medical care, the institution of war, and every aspect of our lives, the foods we eat, the society, the social relationships that we have. All of these constructs are not, they're not finite, they're not fixed, they're not definitive. You can create your own definition of whatever it is you want. You're not obligated, to do anything. You are a free human being. You are a sovereign, and I don't mean that in a weird way, but you are a sovereign entity on this planet to explore all that there could be and be the best version of you anytime you want. You don't have to, Like, just because everybody else gets married in a church, wears a white dress, that you don't have to. Just because, everyone thinks that, the people with the white coats know all the information about health, not really, and so like when I'm like my big thing is be your own healer, and everything else along those lines. But don't believe that you have to do anything a certain way. You can create your own reality. And I think that by doing that and listening to your heart, you will create something amazing that will fulfill you. How's that sound?
Fantastic. That is, yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing, and I'm sure that people will actually go back to this after they listen to it, and they will listen to it a second time. Most people will. That was super, super powerful, and I very much thank you for that, what you just said, but also for the time, the whole interview today. Really appreciate you, and I know all the people out there that follow you on your channel and follow all your work. They appreciate you also very much. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and yes, I hope we can continue with a part 2 at some point.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. This has been fun. I'm always happy to share. That's my thing. So thanks, Philip. All
Sounds
right.
good. Take
All right.
care.
Okay. We'll see you. Aloha.